There we go. Make sure that everything's working on the stream. Very late on the stream. All right. I can hear myself. Cool. Then it looks like here we are. So today, as you might have noticed, this is not the normal screen that I show off for starting a Starfield for starting a Starfield stream. This is slightly different today. On previous streams, I've been asked about my mods. And I figured today the best way of handling this was to kind of go through and talk about some of them, especially some of the more important ones, and then maybe go through what exactly they do and how I'm using them in Starfield. We'll switch back and forth between Vortex here, which is my preferred loader. I prefer Vortex because I've actually used it in the past for my Skyrim VR playthrough and for my Cyberpunk playthrough. It used to be Mod Organizer that I would use, but during the time that I got into Skyrim VR, the Mod Organizer was not really working or had become out of date, and like Mod Organizer 2 hadn't quite taken over. I'm not sure entirely what it was, but I just ended up on Vortex. You can use either that or Mod Organizer 2. I suggest using one of them because this gets really complicated otherwise. So when I first started out, and these are all, you can see my install time over here is what it's sorted by. This is in what order I actually found them and started applying them. This one right here, this crowd NPC eye ambient occlusion fix. This is essentially just to make the NPCs in the game a little bit less creepy when they're staring at you. I guess it's sort of weird uncanny valley thing where like the eyes weren't getting any ambient occlusion, and so they were like really popping out at you. Anyways, little one, not a big deal, but I mean it's definitely one to grab. The first one that was actually a big deal for me and actually impacted my gameplay was Better Food and Chems. Better Food and Chems is actually a collection of console commands that run on startup. You will want to have the thing that I'll probably run through it eventually that re-enables achievements for this, but yeah, Better Food and Chems gives me the ability to actually use the food for, anything worth a damn. Now, I don't use it lately because I have the backpack that just auto regenerates my health in between fights. So I don't really have a need for it, but the food was actually pretty bad. And early game, you're gonna need something to heal yourself. I suggest getting this. You will have to set it up in your Starfield custom.ini as a bat file that runs on startup. On their webpage, they go through exactly how to set that up. And the Starfield custom.ini is something that almost every mod has a little blurb about setting up. You will need to create it. You'll need to turn on the ability to invalidate archives, which essentially just means that if Starfield finds something in the data folder that overrides a archive that is from the base game, it will use what overrides it rather than what's in the base game. Very simple. Don't know why it's not activated by default. It should be, but it's not. This one I had actually installed early on, but I never ended up actually using more custom landing sites. I don't really see a need for it. But if you end up exploring lots and lots of area and you don't want the landing sites to like disappear on you, install it. One of those that, again, it was early on. It has never been updated, never needed to be updated. It's just there for a quick install. The little quality of life, some of you. Responsive grabbing. I don't even know if this is actually still working on my game. It's supposed to allow me to more quickly pick up items with my interact key. If you just click on an item with the interact key, it will pull it into your inventory immediately. But if you hold it, you'll pick it up and you'll be able to move it around. In previous Bethesda games, this was like a second long. It didn't take very long. In Starfield, by default, it's a lot longer, and it actually makes it so that you may not realize that you can pick up items to begin with because of how long it is. But this lowers that time. Upscaling fix. I'm not sure that this is required anymore. I had actually uninstalled it. I don't see any difference anymore, but I think in the early game, before they released a couple patches fixing a few things, it was maybe required, maybe not anymore. I do actually also have, and it's not installed through Vortex because of how you have to install it. It is actually a replacement for the DLSS It replaces, I think, it replaces the default upscaling uh, effect in Starfield that like helps with your frame rate. It replaces that, which is more of an AMD graphics card thing, with the DLSS, which is more of a NVIDIA thing. And I have an NVIDIA 3080, so I want the DLSS. That has to be installed separately, but you can find those. There's, I think, 3 of them now. There's even one that if you have the 40 series, you can get that as well, and that will dramatically bump up your frame rate. So I suggest it. Let's see. Better HUD, immersive dynamic user. Better HUD. I cannot remember what this actually ended up doing, because I think that I've replaced it since then. I don't actually know if it still does anything. This one though, this one's one of my most important mods, and you may see like the tons of storage that I've managed to place onto my rebuilt Frontier has partially been because of this ship storage multiplied. I believe I have the 3 times multiplier on mine. I'm not sure, maybe 3, maybe 5. It just increases the amount of storage that you get from the little cargo containers, and it's still not enough. I'm running out of storage all the time. I don't know how anybody deals with like the vanilla storage. I would pull my hair out. I do not play an adventure game like Starfield for inventory management 101, or inventory management simulator, I should say. So, yeah. This next one, player placed infinite storage. That one, I'll actually have to show you in my base. It creates several containers that you can place down, and just kind of like they're just infinite storage containers that won't despawn. You can put them on an outpost. They don't link to anything. They're just there as overflow, and I've done that for stuff that I want to keep around, but I don't want to have in my ship. I place it in there. I have it for whenever, if I need to go and find it again, it's there. Um, but it is one of those things that big quality of life. Stellar glass just makes the glass more clear. By default, the glass is a lot is pretty blurry, and I don't suggest like not going without it. It's made things a lot easier to deal with. Flutter be gone. I don't remember what this one does now that I think about it. It has to do with not seeing as much clutter, like the junk items. I'm not entirely sure what this one did. There were several different versions, some of which, oh, the one that I got, I believe, if I, it added some, quote unquote, research to my research table that if I track it, it allows me to track specific items like you would normally if you were trying to get research. You could then, if you have the perk for it, you could then see a different outline for those items. This one adds a bunch of different research things that you can do, and if you track them, it will show those as like an orange color. And then, so the trick is if you want to look for a specific type of item, like say valuable clutter, you can track it, and then when you scan, you'll see them in orange. And you go, oh, I want that stuff because that's actually worth picking up. Whereas normally you wouldn't see that. Anyway, perk up Richer Galaxy. This got replaced eventually, but it basically just makes it so so that your vendors have more credits to spend, because there's no way that you can reach into the end game with like what 3,000 credits on an NPC. What? Don't even. Anyway, enemy friendly fire. I find this one funny. NPCs can end up shooting each other if they like all bunch up together, which is kind of funny. No, I wouldn't even suggest it. Even it's just something that I thought was fun. Clean reflex sights, lenses. I do like that one actually, so I would suggest it. It makes it so there's like this weird green background to certain sites, and this just removes it. It looks better. Ship builder tolerance tweaks. 100% if you're going to be doing like the advanced ship builds and you want to do like crazy ship builds and whatnot, do this. It is a lifesaver, and there are actually several things that I will do with this that um you can't do otherwise. So 100% S tier, get that. Sprint head tracking bug fix. The light experimental never worked for me, but it's essentially if you're running and you jetpack, your head is like stuck pointing to the left. If you're a male character, anyways, it looks really bad. The experimental one never worked for me. I eventually ended up getting the other one, which is more of a fix. Doesn't really fix it. Honestly, Bethesda, fix your shit. Visible credit stick and digipick. I mean, I don't see a huge difference. They look nicer. They're a little bit easier to spot. That's about it. So, yeah. This one, the bigger size limit, I actually ended up replacing this, but this is another one. This one is a bat file, but it doesn't like to run properly because as a bat file, you can either run it while you're in the shipbuilder every single time, or you're supposed to be able to put it into your Starfield custom.ini. And in there, it runs once and it's supposed to work, except I put it in there. It runs every time that I start up Starfield, but by the time that I load into the game and I start looking around, it doesn't work. I actually ended up finding another version, which is a CCR version, and I will go over that in a second. It's upcoming. No XP kill steal fix. That is for the NPCs who like to. Normally, you have to do like 25% damage to get the EXP for a kill, and sometimes your companions can just end up absolutely obliterating somebody, and you can't even get the EXP for it. This does mean that you still have to damage them, but I think it's only like a percentage point. You just have to damage them a little bit, and you will get the credit. Concept art loading screens. I use these. You will see them on every single one of my load screens. Essentially, it places a bunch of art into the photo gallery, so that when you're actually running the game, you will see all these art pieces from the early development of Starfield, which I think is really nice. I prefer that over the default. Console command runner. This is super important. This allows you to run these console commands like these, but it's not run through the normal Starfield method. It is actually a script, and it will read these files that it installs, and then it will apply those console commands at specific intervals rather than just once on startup. And some of those can be when you enter certain menus. Some of them can be when you hit certain hotkeys. How some of these things work. In the early days, it is a necessity because some of the things that you want to do, you can't do. Some of these mods can't be made outside of using this. And I do believe that later on, it will probably be the better way of running certain things because you won't always want an ESM file for everything. You may want to just use this. It will save you on mods in the long run. Helmets, golden visors. You know that NASA gold visor that we currently use to like block out the UV for astronauts? This essentially just gives you that gold visor on most of the suits or most of the helmets. I like it. I prefer it more than the see-through, the fully see-through ones. Although I may want to go through and remove some of the retextures just so that not every single helmet is like that. I only want maybe some of the helmets to be like that. I would prefer a light version of this if they ever brought it in. Although this one says all in one, so I think that I could have probably installed specific ones. More space encounters. So this one is supposed to actually make it so that I end up, when you go into a system, you have a higher chance of running into an encounter, like just randomly. Considering that I still don't run into encounters that much, I mean, this is maxing out those values, and I'm still not running into that many. It's almost a necessity at that point because, like, it's boring. It's boring running around in your ship without this. Very hard legendaries for all legendary chance, very hard CCR version. So this essentially just makes it so that on every difficulty you get more legendaries. I think that means more legendary creatures. I'm pretty sure, not just legendary items, but legendary creatures. I like it for the I like it for obvious reasons. Nice. DeWalt tools all the cutter and the little spark welder thing and a bunch of stuff like that. Gets like a retexture, not a big deal. The Wakizashi replacer. Yes. Yes. I mean, I don't even have a Wakizashi yet. I don't know why I can't get one to drop. I get Tontos all the time. Although there is an optional for the Tonto, which I do use as well. The Wakizashis, they you essentially with this mod they will use the cyberpunk like thermal katana. It is so nice. I love that weapon. So yes, of course I'm going to take this. I think I actually have a newer version of this, so I'll go over that when I get there. Always land on planets. I have it disabled right now. It's supposed to make it so that whenever you land on a planet, you kind of come down out of the sky like normal. It is a little bit of a hack. I don't like how they did it, but it is an effect that I prefer. The problem here is that it's currently not working and it's causing me to have issues where when I switch ships and stuff like that, like I can't switch my home ship anymore because when I do, it will play the animation and have that ship start coming down, but then I'm stuck on land, not able to do anything. It's whatever has happened here. It may not be the fault of the mod author, maybe another mod that's interacting with it, but I had to disable it. It is, however, a pretty cool mod, and I hope that they eventually get it fixed and work. But this one, I believe I have a different version of that currently installed. Star UI S plus plus, get it. Just don't even hesitate. This is it is going to require a few things, which I will actually go over some of those requirements. But Star UI changes how your inventory looks, and then whereas previously in previous editions of this, Star UI came all in one. This one actually comes in modules because they're building them slowly. Star UI inventory was the first one. Makes the inventory a lot easier to use, a lot nicer looking as well. I've got a bunch of them. You'll see a bunch of them as I go through. So here, up here, I'm going to jump. Starfield script extender is required for tons of these mods. Lots of these mods use it. Now, it's up here because I had to actually reinstall it. I installed it manually at first, and then I wanted Vortex to handle it. Turns out Vortex does handle it just fine, so you can actually do that. But that's why it's up here rather than down here, which is I actually installed it around this time. So afterwards, address library for SFSE. This is essentially a way to mods that are made for SFSE do not need to update themselves as long as they're pointing at the address library. The address library, you wait on it to update the address library, every single SFSE mod will start to work that's using it. Otherwise, you have to wait on that specific mod author to upgrade theirs, which can take a lot longer, which can keep you from being able to use everything. Um, so then these mods you're gonna need. At least for me, I need them for making the types of ships that I want to make. Otherwise, just it's very difficult to. And this one especially is more quality of life, although I am going to replace it. I just have to make a specific thing for it, and I'll tell you what its issue is. So first of all, weapon power mod. You don't have a limit on the amount of weapons you can have, taking up a certain amount of power. I think this is fair. You have to have more power to run them. This is more of a problem with how Starfield runs its systems to begin with, more than anything. And I think that I think it's nice to just have, because what I'm gonna get on me because I want to have 4 missile systems when I only had the power for 3 because they're each 4 power apiece. You can only have up to 12. It's kind of silly, arbitrary, whatever. Engine power mod, almost a requirement for a lot of things. I like having my ships have decent, huge engines and looking nice, and I think that just for more than anything, I want to be able to put the engines where I want them. I want them to look the way that I want them to. I don't want to worry about running out of uh, power, max power. This is, by the way, this is max power. What that means is every part that you put on has a power requirement, and the mods, or sorry, the pieces, once you reach 12 power requirement for engines per se, you have 4 engines that each take up 3 power apiece. You can't add any more engines, which is again silly. So I just decided, yeah, screw that. I'm just going to have as many engines as I want. So it does mean that I have to apply more and more power to them, or I don't get the benefit of it. But that's, you know. Anyway. Shield limit is the same thing. Is that normally you can only have a singular shield. You can't even have 2 shields that take up like 6 power apiece. No. Single shield. This just removes that requirement. And I think that that's awesome. At least I do. No reactor limit. This is where things get muddy. So, on the one hand, I like having the benefit of additional power. I think that power is at too great a deficit in this game for your ships. Why? Because they want you to have this weird gameplay loop where you're constantly having to take power out of one system and put power into another and cycle your power around. But they have the most back-ass backward system for doing so. It's super complicated. Like, there's more. Comparing this to Elite Dangerous, Elite Dangerous has like 3 systems. And you cycle power. You kind of do the pips. You can do it with a hat, one of those little what's it called, on a joystick, little hat. Anyway, you can move them around easily. On Starfield, you have to like scroll between the systems, remove power from one system, go to another system, add power to that other system. And meanwhile, the game's running at full speed. You're getting shot at while you're trying to sit there managing your power. And they don't have enough. They honestly just don't have enough. What's the word for it? Key bindings, because they're limited. They made the game for Xbox. They didn't make it for PC. They made it for Xbox. It's ported to PC, more or less. And so every control has to fit onto an Xbox 360 control. It means that you can't have that many buttons. It means that this becomes an absolute chore. So, reactor count. I removed the necessity for reactor count. However, do note the majority of your hull also comes from your reactor. which means that adding additional reactors makes you much more tanky. I don't like this necessarily. I think that there should be a change to this, or at least if I'm going to run this, each reactor probably needs to have less health overall. I don't know. But this does make things a little unbalanced, but it's also necessity. Like, unless you want to sit there fiddling with your ship systems all the damn time. Back to that. Baka Achievement Enabler, also a necessity if you want to not lose your achievements. Also, it will stop notifying you whenever you do something like, I don't know, bring up the console menu. And if you're one of those players that's going to play this mostly vanilla, and then you run into some kind of game breaking bug that the only way you can get around it is to use a console command, like 90% of the Bethesda games in the last 3 decades, then yeah, you're going to want to have the achievement enabler in, because otherwise just fixing that game breaking bug is going to disable your achievements. That's not fair to people. I mean, yeah, you can just sit there and console command all the achievements away, but are you really going to feel good about that? No. Increase outpost build budget fixed. I think this is a console command. Yeah, this is a bat file that you have to run. You run up to your little I don't know what the word for it. The main piece of the outpost. You spawn next to it. You change the name and stuff. Anyway, you walk up to it. You select with console, and then you run the bat, and it increases your build budget. I had to use that for my main base. I haven't used it for any others. Your infinite storage. I don't remember what this one is. Oh, this is also a bat file. I can run in and give a container more storage. I haven't actually used it because I want to have a better solution to this other than messing with the storage containers in my base. But it is a little ridiculous. The storage containers are a problem. In order to pretty much storage in this game is a problem. You want to store materials, you have to essentially build so much stuff that you sit there staring at it, and losing all your frame rate in your outpost. Your outposts lose frame rate very quickly because of the amount of storage that you have to put in there. And that's more of a problem with the storage than anything. Because I mean, I get it. The game can't run at super high frame rate when it's also pushing all these graphics and whatnot and everything on screen and everything is going on, yada yada. Anyway, no contraband scanning for faction members. I'm actually going to remove this. And I will tell you why. I was using it for a little bit. Essentially, it means that if you have the background, actually, I don't even know if it's the background. It may be just joining a faction. You no longer get a bounty for bringing contraband into an area. I think that if that was the case, you would have to have finished the entire quest line. Whereas what I found out with this one was I just started the ranger faction, the ranger quest line for the Freestar Collective, and I just don't even get scanned anymore. Even I'm not even talking about in most of Freestar space. Neon 2 doesn't even scan me. Maybe you want that for your game. I actually don't. I've actually decided to undo that. I just hadn't thought about it in a while. Um, the Wakizashi. This is the optional Tonto. I suggest it if you're going to use the Wakizashi one. The Tonto is already messed up texture wise if you install the Wakizashi because they share the same texture. But just get it. It also looks good. Let's see here. Star UI HUD. Yeah, again, with Star UI inventory, this one's just for your HUD. I choose a mostly vanilla one for mine, but it does come with a few extras. Ship size limit 1.7. Okay, this one is, it doesn't say it's CCR, but it is CCR. This one runs better because it runs the console command runner and actually handles my ships. Why my frontier is bigger than you can normally get. It isn't even much bigger. Like the wing shape is just a little too wide, and I have too many modules on there. But other than that, it's not a big deal. Like, I wouldn't worry about it normally, but I wanted my frontier to be bigger. U companion. I haven't run this yet, but it's a bat file to give you the clone of yourself in a new game plus. Obviously, I've never reached that new game plus, but I wanted to have it if I get there. Psycho companions. I'm running the Crimson Fleet quest line right now for for kind of a video series, and I really don't want to ruin my affinity with all of my companions because of it. So I run this. You can also run Companions Never Lose Affinity. I don't really feel the need to. And then Shipboarding Crime Faction Fix. You could also run that. They're all going to help with the same problem. What's that quest? Adds little pieces, blurbs of text when you are looking at quest markers and trying to figure out what you're being pointed towards. It's nice that way. Mostly for like when you're in the scanner and you're looking around or you're on the map, it'll show you there. Call your ship. I think it might be broken, but it's supposed to, you press a button and it calls your ship. I haven't gotten it to work lately. I think that it may be having to do with whatever's ruined my always land on planets one. Let's see here. Plugin.txt enabler. I was, up until this point, running all of my mods through the Starfield custom.ini. And in there, you would add s test file equals the mod name. And you could do that for 1 through 10. You could not have more than that as far as like ESM files. This is an SFSE mod that gives you a plugin.txt where it would normally be once Bethesda brings out the CK. So it'll probably still work with that. But that plugin.txt, which is the same as it's been in Skyrim and Fallout, will then allow you to add mods to it. And actually, up here, I'll go ahead and show you this cool little thing. If you go to your dashboard, I suggest you do this. You can actually add in the plugin.txt as a button. You can press it. Because right now, Vortex does not add your mods directly to the plugin.txt. Okay? It's not adding them in there. When you install them, you still have to add the name into the txt file yourself, which is not that hard. You can do it pretty easy. But finding the text file every time can be a pain. So what I did was I went in here, I created a little shortcut thing, plugin.txt, target. You're not going to target the txt, okay? You're going to target Windows Notepad. You're going to pass it a command line pointing to where the txt is, which is app data local starfield plugin txt. And when you do that and you hit it, it will open up Notepad with plugins.txt passed to it, and so you'll be able to edit it and then close it again, save it and all that. I gave it a little icon. Also, SF Edit, which is what I've been using to make mods, I've also added onto here, but that is much more of an advanced thing. All right. So, NeuroAmp. This is a texture replacer for the NeuroAmp that just makes it a little bit more high quality. Adhesive vacuum tape. It's why you will see me running around and picking up vacuum tape, is essentially vacuum tape counts as adhesive. I don't know why it doesn't, honestly. Anyway, Star UI Workbench, one of the modules of Star UI. This one came out later than the others. I love it. I use it on more workbenches. Simple immersive helmets. This makes it so that when you're in first person, you actually see a little bit of a glare on your screen from having a helmet on. Not very intrusive. Since I do most of my gameplay in third person and I switch back to first person only every now and then, it actually is quite immersive. It's not a pain in my butt since I'm not always in first person to begin with. Show power names adds the power names to the power menu when you go in on your character sheet, and it just makes it a lot easier to tell what's what. Same with show star names, shows the names of the stars on the map. I highly suggest it. I actually installed the version that recolors the stars that you have to. You can see them a little easier. Legendary Drip. The name gets me. Legendary Drip gives the ability for clothing items to spawn with legendary effects. I think it's kind of cool, so I went for it. Why not? More stuff uh, to find? Sure. Ship decor. The CCR version essentially means that if I go in, I think it's F11, and I aim at a wall, hit F11, it places a little thing on the wall that allows me to treat the interior of my ship as if it was an apartment. It means that I can then go and decorate it more. I haven't actually used it yet because I keep working on my ship. The downside of this is if you ever modify your ship after you do this, everything gets deleted. You're not going to want to do this until you're done with your ship. And I'm just never done with my ship, but I have it for when I am, if I ever am. Outpost Trader. It allows you, it gives you essentially one of those, for it. I don't remember what they're called, but a little trading kiosk. Anyways, it gives you one of those, but you have to have like a bunch of skills up to like max rank 4 to use it. It's fairly fair. It's a little bit of a time saver more than immersive lightsabers. I don't know if I really should keep this on. It's really, you know what, I've had my fun with it. I'm gonna actually uninstall it now. Um, immersive lightsabers essentially is another replacer. You can do it for the wakizashi, so you can have like the wakizashi replaced by like a lightsaber. Kind of cool. I did it for the rescue axe, which actually means that the rescue axe looks like a lightsaber, and I'm gonna be honest, it was cool to see, but it's not very immersive. And like the rescue axe is a really low damage weapon, so I'm just gonna take that off. Natural Lutz is one that his, and this has been a week ago. You'll actually see on my streams the difference between before and after. It cleans up a little bit of the colorization and the filtering, the way that lighting works a little bit. I like it with it on. It makes things a little bit clearer. I get why they did the LUTs the way they did. It was meant to be a little bit more stylized, but I just don't like it like that. So, uh, real flashlight soft. It's just a retexture, more or less, for your flashlight. Makes things a lot easier to see. Craftable ammo and utilities. I will say this: I used to have this. In fact, I had updated, or I had tried to update just in case the guy had actually released an update. I think he did eventually, but like he still didn't add any custom like crafting recipes or anything. It was still very basic. Every piece of ammunition, pretty much except energy ammunition, had the same recipe, and it was kind of annoying. Like even the grenades that the Bridger shoots had the same crafting recipe as 23 caliber. It was so weird. Um, it was great for the early game when I really needed it, but eventually ended up actually making my own, and I'll go over that in a little bit. Legendary modification. I wouldn't suggest this in its vanilla form, like not vanilla, default form. It's very cheaty in the way that it's presented, but I was able to just go in and add a resource requirement to it that made it a lot more costly because it's a resource that you can only get from the artifact room. So a lot harder to get. And so I figured, you know what, if have a reason to actually spend that resource, it's not too bad, and it gives me something to actually, you know, something to actually use it on. Uh, it does not give you the ability to add legendary effects to your weapons. It just lets you change them around. Which, if you ever get something that's like an absolute terrible legendary roll on a really good piece of armor that you really want to use, you can do that and then spend that very rare resource on changing out the legendary. And I don't think that's too bad. Weapon skins unlocked. Yes, tier and S plus plus again. This makes it so that once you unlock the immersively version, at least lets you once you unlock that skin through gameplay, you can then go in and apply that skin to another weapon, which is great because I was using the Freestar Ranger revolver, but it got outclassed very quickly. I have a much better version of it, and you can't upgrade that unique version that you got. The unique version has the skin. Well, I want to keep the skin, but I want better stats. So eventually, when this guy brought this out, I got it immediately. I would get it too. Link companion spacesuits and hide spacesuit in breathable areas just makes it so that your spacesuit is off a little bit more, like when you're around your ship and stuff. And it makes it so that the other one makes it so that your companion uses the same settings. Whenever you take yours off, they'll take theirs off, etc. Daratech, another S plus, at least S plus plus. This is the first one that I've seen that's adding new ship parts. He's way ahead of the curve, and it looks like he has an update. I really want to try it, but not in the middle of a stream. It's adding in stuff like, and I use some of the pieces. Uh, you can create your own doorways, manually create them. You can place in glass walkways, which are really cool. Just a lot of little stuff like that. Really cool. I would highly suggest it. Go XP on loading screens, little quality of life change. You'll see as I go through. Close mod. Um, your own discretion. I'm not updating this anymore. The version 2 is the version that I'm probably going to stick with because it starts trying to do a little bit too much. It starts dipping into like the legendary drip territory and trying to incorporate that into it. And I'm not about that. I want to have those two separate. I already made a compatibility patch myself. You may want to just use close mod because it, you know, has that involved. Richer Merchants. This is the version that actually runs through I think it's an ESM, actually. It's an ESM file. It is more comprehensive than the previous version. It works better. It is the version that I'm currently using. NPCs take environmental damage. I don't know how often this actually comes up, but whenever there's an environmental damaging effect, NPCs were immune to it. Now they're not. Simple thing. This is that sprint head tracking bug fix. I had been using the experimental. Now I'm not. This is the one that isn't as good, but it definitely works for me. Show ship parts count. When you're in your ship, right next to where you would, like the little prompt to repair your ship, it shows you how many actual ship parts you have. I don't know why it didn't work. It's so stupid. Nades. Nades is actually a mod that has just recently come out and isn't getting enough attention. It adds in grenade versions of certain mines and I think mine versions of certain grenades. so that like rather than just having a cryo mine, you now also have a cryo grenade, which is nice. All right, Milky Way replacer, majestic. This is one of those where it has lots of different options and they look really cool. Some of them don't look as good as the others. I use just in vanilla enhancer version to make the galaxy in your night sky look a little bit nicer. Slightly better map icons. I have played around with all the different ones. The only one that I actually still like is version 5, and I don't know why the guy keeps iterating on it because he had it mostly good right there. I don't see the reason for all of this. And for whatever reason, the version 8, whenever I try to install it, only has the ability to have borderless. Like, there's no actual icon. It's just, I mean, there's no like circle or diamond. It's just the little tiny icon, and I don't like that. But there's no other options for it. And I'm like, why? Please give me options. Anyways, craftable armor skins. This is the first guy that's actually made a new skin, and instead of replacing the default skin, he's actually made it something you can apply and take off. And I think that because he's probably going to be adding more to it, I want to have this. I'm not even using it, but I want to have it because every time that he updates, I'm going to update and I'm going to see what else he added in. So that's really kind of nice. Human activity on Earth makes so that Earth can spawn points of interest that are like human activity points of interest. I don't know why there's not. The guy in the description makes a really good case for, actually having them there. Like, what? It's free real estate. I mean, really. Anyway, simple, faster walk. I installed this just like a few hours ago because I was making a video and I was getting really tired of how slow I walked. Also, this matches your walk speed a lot closer to the NPCs, which is another Bethesda thing that they have never fixed. So, let's go back to this. Tenn's aid and ammo crafting. So, let's go ahead and get into Starfield itself. And, hold on, OBS. I need OBS. There we go. All right. And the reason why I'm getting back in here is I have actually been a busy boy. I made several mods myself. This last weekend, I just spent modding. Strange is actually very upset with me. I was absorbed, and I am sorry. But I had so many ideas, and then I found out where to get the Xedit build that allows you to do mods for Starfield. I know how to do Xedit. I did Xedit on Skyrim and on Fallout and Skyrim VR. I'm very good at it. I have done mods before, although I lost my account. I won't go ahead and tell you which was mine, but I had mods that I had created previously on Skyrim and even on Fallout, but because a few years ago, Nexus Mods was hacked, and they had to wipe their entire, like, everybody's passwords had to get wiped out. And at the time, I don't know what the deal was, but I could not get access to my account again. My account was lost permanently. I could not get them to send the password to my email because of this whole thing. Like, I don't know how many people lost their accounts during this time. I assume I'm not the only one, but I can no longer access my old account. All of my old mods have never been updated in that amount of time because I can't really update them. And I don't really want to out myself as I'm the creator of this mod, because then people who have been waiting on those updates are probably just going to be like, hey, yo, can you update this? And I'm like, I can't really, because I can never prove to Nexus that I am that person to update them. They will strike me down like Thor's fury if I tried to release an update to a mod that I very specifically in that mod page said, I am not allowing other people to make updates for this. They will wipe me off the face of the Nexus again, so those mods are never getting updated. I can't. And I'm starting anew as a modder. So. I have begun work on several mods. We'll go over the first one that I made very quickly. And this was made primarily because of the fact that that ammo and crafting mod was not being updated in the way that he said that he would eventually update it. He said that he would eventually add more variety to the recipes, add all of the different ammo types, and a bunch of other stuff. And he never did. And I don't like the cheaty way that he added it in, because it's essentially lead and copper for everything. And lead and copper is so easy to get, it didn't really make it a challenge to make any ammo, and therefore didn't make a challenge to make anything else. Now, I have a ton of ammo right now. 13,000 of this sucker. Why? Because I could just infinitely get lead and copper from my outposts. So I just made a ton of ammo. And honestly, I kind of regret it now because it doesn't feel like I really earned it. You know? Even though I spent resources on it, I don't feel like the mod itself was balanced.
What can I do for you?
So, I actually did end up making my own version of it with my own recipes. I mean, I use copper and lead for some of the recipes, but I also use this tetrafluoride. Now, there's no way to make gunpowder in Starfield. There's no way that I'm going to find a decent, like, bunch of different materials to make gunpowder. Well, tetrafluorides are highly reactive. And we're talking about hundreds of years in the future. Is it entirely possible that we formulate our own way of making some sort of explosive that's not gunpowder? Sure, they never even talk about gunpowder in here. So I'm assuming that we could be using a different type of explosive, like tetrafluorides as the base, at least. I'm sure that other chemicals might be added to it to make it, you know, whatever we want. But this is where I'm starting with. Tetrafluorides is the explosive component of the ammunition. And then, of course, you know, this is a basic 27 caliber, so copper lead. You know, MI array. So MI evidently stands for magnetically induced array. So it's like a bunch of little pieces of ammunition all kind of together, and they're all magnetically like launched like a railgun. So aluminum, tungsten, a little bit of tetrafluorides. Ultramag. This is, despite the name, it is actually a basic ballistic type. I looked it up. It sounds really cool, but it's really just very basic. And caliber ACP, you may know that, real life. But then you get into the caseless ammunition. Here, I use titanium as like a sort of, it is caseless in the same way that it's just not ejecting anything. It's all together. But like the outside would be titanium, inside be iron, and then tetrafluorides on the inside as a propellant. It still uses a propellant, it's just it's not releasing a casing that goes elsewhere. So the MI arrays are all aluminum and tungsten. The caseless are all titanium and iron. Laser cartridges use cobalt, nickel, and lithium. Cobalt and nickel for the casing and the making a chemical reaction. Lithium for the power that's coming out of it. Rivets. I did it to myself again. Immediately upon saying rivet, I honestly think of a frog, and I can't help it. Anyways, the rivet is used for the nail gun, the big like heavy weapon nail gun thing. Anyway, iron, argon, tungsten. Argon being an inert gas, I think would have probably been a really good gas to use as the propellant. Because you need to compress this into, some kind of little container to, launch this projectile. So iron and tungsten, iron for the main body, tungsten for like a anyway, you get the point. Shotgun shells, lead. Most of it structural because shotgun shells usually have like an outside like casing. It's not copper usually or anything like that. It's like paper or plastic or whatever. Anyway, tetrafluorides for the explosive again. And these titanium, tungsten, and tetrafluorides, these are like the really advanced shotgun shells. Anyway, better laser cartridges. The 40 millimeter XPLs, these are the grenades that you shoot out of the Bridger. Requires heavy weapon certification and demolitions rank 1. But then you need aluminum, a little pressure tank, and some explosives. A lot better a recipe in my opinion. I'm glad to see you. And then let's see. Oh, the other one, white hot ammunition. That's actually what I use in this revolver is white hot ammunition, and it is considered the exotic ammunition. It is the only ammunition actually that already requires it be a white hot round, whereas everything else you can upgrade into a white hot ammunition, but it actually doesn't use different ammunition. So anyway, this was an exotic aluminum, iron, tungsten. By the way, if you're ever wondering, aluminum and iron, oxide is, how you make certain flammable substances, and then tetrafluorides to shoot it out. Copper, lead, yeah. So all of that. Aceless shotgun shells, again, titanium, lead, tetrafluorides, kind of the same thing. But I also ended up making. By the way, this is so normally by default you have the cryo mine, and then I have recipes for all of these. I won't go through all of the different recipes, but I do have a version that I am waiting on permission to release, which is crafting recipes for all the grenades added by that nades mod. I'm asking if he will let me release it, and he hasn't given a reply yet, so who knows. But anyways, all the different explosives have their own recipes. Digipicks have their own recipes as well, but you need security rank 4, which is, I think, fair. You are at that point, kind of negating the need for digipicks to a degree. Anyway. Oh, and then the particle fuses are a particle beams thing. Plutonium for the power source, cobalt and gold for the reaction and housing. Anyway, impact grenade, inferno mine, all these kind of things are really nice. Then we have down here ship parts, also craftable. You need, however, Starship Engineering rank 1. I don't have that yet, so I can't make them. Not a big deal. I haven't run into a heavy need for them. You might in your game. So 0 wire and adaptive frames plus titanium. I think that's probably the perfect recipe for these. I cannot think of anything else that would be more appropriate from end game to from early game to end game. Anyway, there's lots of other stuff that I have currently, but the last bit of this, because it is called Tenn's Aid in Ammo Crafting, is over here. The med pack. Med packs, trauma packs, and emergency kits are all, you have to have increasing levels of medicine to make them, but med pack, fiber, mag, pressure, tank, antimicrobial, just, it's a little bit harder to make each version. You do not need to get any research for this. This is just unlocked with the actual perks themselves. In fact, if you go in here, you'll see like ballistics has the notation on all of these. unless another mod is overriding it. Craft basic ballistic ammunition, craft caseless, craft magnetic induction ballistic ammunition, and you will go down through each of these. So, yeah. Medicine, same thing. There, and here, you'll see where they all are. So it's fully transparent. You get to see everything. So that's that one. I will go ahead and also show off the one that I am currently working on, which is, it's a work in progress. I've released kind of the test version, and it has been one of those things that, because it was never added into the game, I'm not expanding on anything. I am making something that is very difficult to do. So, as you can see in here, an impossible item to see in Starfield, an advanced Tonto. Advanced? They don't come in different varieties. Well, now they do. The mod that I have created is Tennessee's melee modifications and tiers. I had to add that on to the end when I actually figured out how to make the advanced version. Anyways, this essentially just adds a grip and internal slot to all of the melee weapons. Here, you can actually see that I have the Tonto here is actually the reskinned or replaced Tonto. Okay. So you get a variety of things that you can add to this. They are unlocked as you unlock the gun mod. So they're with the same research. I didn't add anything new. You won't have to go in and research all over again. I know everybody has some PTSD from that. So the grip and stock, it is the same. It says grip and stock, but obviously it's just a grip or a handle. It says that because I'm using the vanilla slots, so that anybody else, say, who created a melee weapon could add those same slots, and this would work for them. So this makes compatibility, even though the names are a little bit odd, compatibility is still there. So the grips, comfort grip increases your attack speed, decorative grip gives you a little bit of like social buff, intimidation and persuasion. I mean, if you saw a guy with, a nice like ivory handle on something, obviously you're gonna think, maybe they're a little bit more upscale. So that's the point of this. The standard grip is just, whatever. We have the most advanced one. Stun hilt replaces the damage type with EM. So you can essentially make yourself a stun baton, which they, again, why didn't they add this to the game? Stun hilt, okay? Makes you a stun baton. Tesla grip does not add, or does not replace the damage. It adds a little bit of EM damage. So not as much as this one, but it should be more than enough. So you have that option there. And then the best grips, the gravitic hilt, is actually using several cut pieces of content, the gravitic laminate and the gravity inducer. Both of these were items that were created. They have their own models. They were in the vanilla game, but they were never craftable, nor could you find them. I had to re-add in their crafting recipes. But essentially that and calamite, which is that material that you get from around the artifacts, that's what's required to make this. So this is, it adds extra physical damage, a little bit of energy damage, as well as critical hit. This is just going to make things hit. And it is essentially supposed to be that you are controlling gravity and making this thing hit a lot. And then this one, the hidden toxin grip. That's some poison damage and a chance to poison the target with every hit. Then we get into the blades themselves. So it says internal, really it means material. So the material that you get, in this case, starts out with steel, and then you can upgrade that. You can get like carbon steel, it just increases damage. Damascus steel increases damage and your critical hit chance. Serrated, increased critical hit chance and causes a bleed effect. You can see this one more as like a micro serration rather than like full on like, you know, wood saw type serrations. Titanium alloy is one of the basic ones. It just reduces the weight, so it increases the attack speed. Then you've got one of the highest ones. Yeah, piezonucleic. If you do not know what this is, you did not find that quest in Fallout 4. It is a reference to that quest, which is why it does a few things: increases damage, reduces oxygen consumption, because in Fallout 4, piezonucleic reduced your action point cost, which is kind of like your oxygen consumption. But it also may give your targets radiation poisoning because it is radioactive. So, that's what this is all about. Alright. Next, we have the molecular blade. The idea in many different forms of media, cyberpunk and sci-fi, where you have a blade that is so sharp it comes down to a single molecule thick. So essentially, using some nanotubes and some other tungsten and stuff, it is the sharpest blade that you can ever make, which means that it increases your damage, doubles your critical damage, and ignores a portion of armor. It's probably one of the most damaging ones of them all. Starborn. This one I'm still working on. Turns out I can't get it to highlight. Despite the fact that it has all of the stats in there to highlight targets, I think because it's a melee weapon, it's just not able. So, you know how, like, if you look at somebody with your recon sight or whatever, it'll kind of highlight them. That's what this was intended to do. It doesn't. It's going to be replaced, but increases damage, increases critical chance and damage, and insert a really cool thing after that once I get it done. This is, again, work in progress. Or this one, fun one. The superheated blade. Changes the damage type to energy and has a chance to catch targets on fire. Is essentially, I want to use that lightsaber. Give me that. So again, this is using a plasma igniter in the crafting recipe. Stop that. The crafting recipe, that's not something that was normally in the game. It is craftable under the system. So, those are all the melee weapons. I am actually using one of them right now that I have been invested in. Because I got a while back a lacerate Onto. Now, when I added in the mod, I gave the ability to give a quality based upon what the quality would have been when you found it. This one is refined. This one would have been advanced because I spawned this one through the console in order to show it off. But anyway. This one is a refined, and it is modified with the Hidden Toxin Grip and the Starborn, because I'm currently testing Starborn. So as you can see. Right now, what I'm trying to get it to do is kind of play with gravity a little bit so that you take less fall damage and stuff like that. But I haven't quite gotten it there yet. Anyway, the last stuff is only going to be possible for me to show you using, well, using a ship.
Fire up your hand scanner.
And I figure this is probably going to be the best time for me to do this. Now that I am going to be doing this, I need to create a save because I need to come back before this, because what I'm about to do is cheat like a mofo. All right, player dot add item. OF. OF is money. Just remember that if you ever need any. And we are going to give ourselves 2 mil. Because in order to kind of work with this, and probably for the rest of this stream, I'm just going to be building a ship. But not just any ship. I am going to be upgrading my Razor Leaf. Because it's been a while. The Razor Leaf was a ship that I was running around in. I got kind of tired of it because people keep, like, running away from it. Among other things. Let me just move all these over here. I'm going to go over a few of these things now. First of all, the dual shields, that is the effect of just removing the shield requirement. I believe also I'm over the amount of engines at the moment. Or I might not be. Hold on. 2, 2, 2. No, that's 12. So I was actually still... I actually hadn't included that yet. Let's see here. So, here's a few things. For one of my mods does include the ability to... all of the habs have slightly different stats. And you'll see actually this one right here. The captain's quarters gets 150 cargo in it. Because, I mean, it's your home. You're going to place stuff in it. Also, all the habs get hull based upon their size. 2x1s get 8. I actually don't think that I can get a hold of some of those because of where I am. Well, you can see here, 3x1 gets 12. And then this 1x1... This 1x1, the companionway, is a little bit sturdier. It gets 8, but the storeroom gets only 5. 1x1s usually get 5, but the companionway gets a little bit more. Anyway, so I have the ability to create any of the crazy habs here. So for places where I want like a 3x3 or anything, I may just place down a few of these in a row and then go and replace them eventually. Anyway, here we go. Radiators. This is a different mod. This is the one that has to do with all the structure. So in the structure category, everything has hull. I mean, it's adding mass. It should add hull. And this is essentially just armor plating. But why it didn't give you anything? I don't know. It was such an oversight. It's like, oh, it's just going to make you slower, but not add anything to your ship aside from looks. So, well, that's dumb. If I wanted to be the most effective, I'd just run around with nothing. You know? I don't want to do that. I want my ship to look good. So, give it a little balance to it. Not near as much as, like, say, your reactor is going to give you, but it does give you some hull. So that's nice. The braking engines and other type things like this, there are certain the braking engine down here and the one up here, and there are other ones as well. They, from a different mod, the supplemental thrusters mod, will give you a little bit of thrust. It's not for these, it's just maneuvering thrust. For certain types of for certain types of landing gear, you can see it actually has actual engine thrust as well. But this one just has, it has a braking engine built in. You can see it at the front there. So it has a little bit of extra maneuvering thrust because it can, in fact, help you turn your ship. And then these, the Nova Galactic ones, they get a little bit of engine thrust, a little bit of maneuvering thrust. They don't take up as much power. They take up a quarter of 1 power. So you need 4 of these together to get a real benefit out of it. Whereas like this one, you only need 2 of them together to get a real benefit out of it. See the differences here. Anyway, and not all of them have it. Like this does not have anything different because it's only got engines coming out of the bottom. Only going to help you land. It's not going to help you maneuver as much. Anyway, We're going to keep. What is it? It's a 23. It's a 22. I'll keep that for now. I think I'm going to use the same engine, or the same cockpit. Living quarters. Alright, again, adds a little bit of cargo. The 50 is kind of like the base amount of cargo. Landing base, I don't know if I'll be able to get a decent one. Infirmary, of course, infirmaries and workshops already have crafting tables in them. They didn't need a buff, so I didn't give them one. Oh, these radiators here, because they are essentially helping take away heat from your ship, they help your shields run a little bit more efficiently. They have shield health rather than hull health. Well, they have a little bit of hull health, not a lot. I want to put these aside, actually. Because... there we go. Yeah, I can place down these, but I don't have access to these at the at an outpost one. I keep those. Not sure if I have access to those either. I'm just gonna keep these. There's my reactor. Boom. I had 2 reactors in here, so I already had that mod in. This cargo stuff, yeah. Now, I don't actually know if I can get those engines. I don't think that I'm going to use those engines, because they're not as good as I can use now. I don't know if I... No, I don't have access to that. If I want anything like it, I need to... That is going to be one of those things where if you're building something like this, keep a hold of those things. You don't want to lose them. Tanks. Don't worry about that or that. Wait, do that one. That, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Probably gonna get rid of that, but place that over there for right now. Control station. Oh, here's another fun one. Control stations add a little bit of reactor health. That was part of the Habs tweaks. Right, there's that, and I don't know if I have access to that here, so keep that. That. Alright, let's get rid of all of these things. Cool. So, we're down to our base components. Now, I want to build something that has a little bit of a vulture, bird of prey type look to it. So, let's go with what kind of... Because you start with halves. That's a given. I don't know if I want to do Deimos or anything. And I'm not going to have too much room for decorative halves here. I don't want to get the ones that I'm going to use out of. So right here, here's a cool one. Engineering bays give you +2 to your grav jump thrust, which helps with your jump range. Although I don't need that on this one just yet. Gives you extra engine health, grav drive health, as well as, I'm not sure, you would have to check out my mod itself, but there are actually some stats that aren't visible at all times. Anyway, we're gonna patch that. Okay. First of all, that actually looks nice. Really good attachment point, so... But this is going to be the interior part here. let's have, I'm not going to have a ton of these. Have a storeroom. If I had long ways ones, I'd use those instead, but I don't have that. So I am going to place these here. Now I want 2x2s here normally. And then I want, those are going to be the 2x2s. I want instead a control station. Maybe? Control station gives me a few pieces stats that I also can't remember. Oh, right. I do need this. So one of these can be something that increases my stats. I can go with the computer core that gives me a little bit of extra power. Or I can go with the control station. I think I'm going to go with the control station. There we go. Cool. And then for this side, I do not know, I cannot remember which one has it. One of the workshops actually has a research station. So I don't need to have an extra place for that. All right. So now we need to design exactly how this is fit together. I think, I'm here. I want to pick up. That one cannot be flipped. Which ones can be flipped? Because I want to have, or actually no, let's not flip it. Let's actually have it underneath. And then I think that I'm going to have the docker on top somewhere. Like there. That'll be where it connects up there. And then we want to make this a class C. So, for one, get rid of these. Let's get in here. Reactor. And what kind of reactor do I want to use? So, this one has the higher power output, but this one has attachment points. That in there. And then because I'm probably not going to have enough power with just one. This is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I really shouldn't do this. But I'm gonna. I'm gonna go ahead and place down this one, and I'll probably want to eventually replace that. That's going to attach right in there. Okay. And then we are going to need a big butt drive. This is why we made sure that it had the ability to connect on the back. Here's the question. We want a grav jump thrust 50. So 50, and this one is 45. This one I think matches better. Oh, okay. So we have managed to get the bones of this thing. We can then begin working on upgrading and giving it shape. Let's start with actually engines. Lots of engines. Now, top speed is something that I have to do. I need to hold on to this, or this, or this. If I get rid of these two, should then be able to see everything. As you get bigger and bigger, get lower top speeds. So, we could do instead. Let's bring these back. Let's bring all these guys back from the dead. Maybe build up 220. Really old. There's not much better. You get my point. Okay, and this is where that that modification comes in, where you have an increased tolerance. Normally, you couldn't do this; it wouldn't go together because they're kind of overlapping. But if you're essentially making this from scratch and you want this to be here, you can make it be here. So now we've already got a decent amount of thrust, and I may end up adding in additional pieces of thrust in different places. So let's move on. So essentially we're going to be using a class engine. I want this to be super fast. This is going to be a C class, but you're going to use A class for the engines. But that means that I may need many more of them than I currently have access to. I end up needing to add in like these dwarf ones, stuff like that. And also probably breaking stuff like that as well. So let's see what all I can put on here. Back towards the structure. Oh, let's actually handle one thing really quick. So, I want to be able to mount my weapons, at least my main weapons, enclosed. I'm just going to have these right in here. But, okay. That's going to mean that my primary weapons are like right there. And I have some other weapons right in here, and I may have some other weapons inside of these two. Missiles or something. Yeah. Alright. Let's start with figuring out how we're going to attack. Because I want this to be aggressive. I want this to be something that makes you go, uh-oh, what have I run into? Let's actually have... We're going to probably be using these two to create this aggressive front. But we're going to need to build into it these as well. Okay. What I want is the ability to kind of put this in here. And we do that by... Actually, this may work out really well. I think need this weapon mount here to begin with. Do that. No? No, I need it right. Doesn't. Oh, I know. No. Okay. Essentially, we're trying to trick this into connecting where it doesn't really have a connection. And doing that can be a little bit tricky. Because that there, we are going to want to put something there. No. Put this here. No, right. I need this to be here. Not. I am actually correct here. What I need is something that's not going to connect over there, but it is going to be... I know. No. Oh. Okay. Can I then... No. It's there now. Don't worry, we're going to get this. I just need something that's going to kill. Uh... Connect to just one. We'll find something. Is there one? Listen. Ugh. Okay. There has to be something that will connect. Actually, I have a better idea. Can't be. Wait, do I need it to be flipped upside down? That's what I just. A goober. Okay. Here's how we're gonna do this. Move out of the way. You. We're not going to use that. In fact, we are going to use instead this. Boom. Copy. Flip it upside down. Boom. Then we're going to move this. Oh, that doesn't. Look at me. Okay, I'll use the other one. This one. Put that there. Watch this. Boom. Stays there. And then boom. Let's see what's happening now. Can be. Oh, is it because it's already? There you go. Very aggressive. All right. So. I could actually release that. I don't need those. Instead. Very nice. Okay. This will cause this to be unhooked. Okie dokie. Leos. So that gives it a very aggressive stance here. Now it is very pointed. So let's try to maybe recreate that on the other side. Boom. A little bit. Okay. Little trick to this, you actually got to place it down once, then bring it over. So now we have this kind of very aggressive front end here. Lots of places for weapons as well. That. And then I'll probably do something inside here. But need to start deciding exactly what we're going to put right in here. So let's see. Now, one of the things that we could do here, right there, add that. It also doesn't block that. This road, like that one. I'm actually. What do? Probably going to be something that I end up using. Right in there. Yeah, probably. Huh. Actually, that's not gonna work. Snap. That's not gonna work. Oops. Let's not mess with that. Shh. know exactly what there. Possibly. That creates a connection. And then could I probably don't that no. Yeah, I may want to do something back in here. Who knows? Anyway, I think that it's coming to my attention that this could take a while. I don't really have the time for all of this, so I may end up just kind of letting it be for now. Let's see. Three errors. Unattached module. Fuel tank count. Invalid dock. Really? I guess that doesn't really work. No, does it? Let's see. Get a fuel tank first. Plus one there. One there. Okay. We need a dock. Yeah. Does that work? There. Attach modules. Attach module. Oh, the shields. Okay, they gotta get pulled back here. There we go. But you can kind of see how that's kind of shaping out, and noting that it's got a lot of extra stuff. Like even though it's got no cargo modules right now, it's got 1,000 cargo, which is admirable for something like this. And it does make it a lot easier to kind of bear the brunt of, tossing on so many habs and everything, and kind of going for something that's a little bit more, I don't know what's the word for it, more of a more of an art project, really. But I think considering that it's getting to be about dinner time, and man, am I getting distracted by hunger, that I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Let me actually take a quick look on the inside. Make this the home ship. Take a look on the inside. Yes. Yeah, I like this. You'll be able to look out and see the way this kind of connects up to. Ooh. Love the interiors here. Let's see, we got the walkways, both sides. Them all up though.
How are you today?
Oh yeah. Well, these are in the little wings that we created.
You can't apologize.
Oh my god, the salty boy. And what is it? I think it goes up. Oh, okay, cool. So it doesn't, I don't have to go up into it. This is the docker. That actually might work. Yeah. Sarah? Oh boy. Well, in any case. So yeah, that's how to kind of create a ship, and obviously if I had a little bit more time, I'd finish out this build. It's starting to look good. Really like having the engineering area here, though. Yeah, you can kind of see out. You can see it to either side, man. That's gonna be quite the view. You'll be able to see all the weapons and everything. I like this more. For now, though, I'm gonna be heading out of here, and I hope that this was informative. If you do have any specific questions, hit me up on Strange's hiccups. Hit me up on Strange's Discord, and we can, talk a little bit more there. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.